is up, T.O.Gs? Got the Sacramento skyline on the horizon, but we're not headed that way. We're going to switch directions here a little bit. But we do a little segment on this channel that I enjoy doing, and I know that there are a handful of you who also enjoy this segment because, you know, it does get some pretty consistent views. And not only do it, I think that this segment helps other people. I also am a firm believer when you talk about things, when you discuss things, it helps to bring them to the forefront of your being, myself. It helps bring them to the forefront of my mind, and helps me, I think, become a better person, a better husband, a better dad, and a better human being. But that segment that I'm talking about is my Let's Talk, my relationship advice tips for all of you. Now, I am not a therapist. I am not licensed to practice in any sort of marriage counseling or anything like that. But what I do have is a lot of experience. My wife and I have been married for 18 years, and we have been together for over 2 decades. We were... Oh, sorry, I gotta do this. So we've been happily together for over 2 decades, and I think that sharing what has worked for us with all of you is, again, like I said, not only a good way for me to help anybody out there who might want some of this advice, but also is a way for me to take my own advice. So without any further ado, let's hop right into today's topic, and that topic is selfishness. Now, I'm a firm believer that selfishness is just a gigantic relationship killer. I'm not even just talking about romantic relationships, because I think selfishness in close friendships and selfishness in acquaintances and co-workers, it just wreaks havoc on really us as a civilization, us as a society. If I could just talk really generically and broadly for just 2 seconds, it's just a huge problem. It's pervasive, and what happens is when we're too busy thinking about our own needs, we leave no room to think about the needs of others. So let me just use an example out of my life. My wife and I, as well as we get along and as much as we love each other, we have a hard time agreeing on small things. And when I talk about small things, I'm talking about, like, what do you want for dinner? Or what route should we take to get to the theater? These are the kinds of things and the kind of trivial things that we argue about. And every once in a while, we'll have a larger argument. But what happens for me, and what's super helpful for me, is if I have an argument or a disagreement with my wife, and I walk away frustrated, or we haven't settled things, and maybe we're on our way to work because we do carpool with each other. If we leave each other and I'm not happy with the way maybe a discussion was going, is when I have some time to think about it to myself, I try to think of the argument or the discussion from my wife's point of view. I think about, how does this argument or how does this discussion affect her, and why is it that we are not able to see eye to eye on something? And in doing so, I might not change my mind, but I can at least appreciate her point of view. It helps me to show empathy, and sometimes we will see eye to eye, or I or my wife will change their mind. Obviously, there are other things that come into play in this, but when we're able to show empathy and be selfless, put our own egos and our own needs aside for the time being, and think about how our actions or maybe our words affect somebody else. And I think on a large part, that is something that ails our humanity in so many ways. Because really, inherently, I think all of us are just selfish, right? Because our instincts are to think about what we need. And when I say that, I mean, we think about, oh, I'm hungry, I need to eat. Or, I'm tired, I need to go to sleep. So that translates over to everything else, though, that we do in life. you know, when we're constantly thinking about our side of the argument without taking into account how the other person might be thinking. And it's not just about how the other person might be thinking, because we're not all going to agree on everything all the time. It doesn't matter if you're talking about your best friend, your wife, your significant other. You're just not going to agree on everything all the time. And it doesn't mean that you have to try to convince the other side that they're wrong. You know, sometimes you might feel that someone's opinion is wrong or someone's point of view is wrong. That happens a lot, and it happens, and I think it's happening more and more in everyday life in this world, this crazy world that we live in. But if we can just accept that we can't always see eye to eye and still respect and sometimes love others just for who they are, I think that would go a long way in fixing so many problems that we have. And I hate to get all philosophical on you, but you know, this is kind of the nature of this, the topic of when we bring up these let's talk segments on relationship advice. So leave it in the comments. How has selfishness or selflessness affected your relationships? It doesn't have to be with your significant others, but with your friends, your family. I'd like to know. And really, if you've got other suggestions that you'd like me to talk about on these Let's Talk segments, make sure you leave them in the comments. And also, if you've got something to add, please leave those in the comments as well, because, you know, two heads are better than one. I'm a big believer in that. But guys, that's all I've got for you today. If you like this video, make sure you signify so by hitting that thumbs up down there. And if you haven't already, smash that subscribe button. Guys, if you're out there riding, be safe. And if you're not riding, get riding. I'm that one guy, and I am out.